welcome to the Scratchers Academy. It is time for Realm of the Ancients, which I'm really excited about. So I'm going to run through a few things before we hop around and say hi to everyone. So Discord, you should definitely be a part of it if you're not already. It's full of lots of wonderful people like the ones you see here. And on YouTube, if you haven't seen the previous episodes to this, you can find a playlist on our YouTube channel, so you can catch up on it, binge it, do whatever you want. If you would like to get into a game with us, drop Scrat a DM on Twitter. We have 5 viewer games this season. I believe Monster of the Week is completely booked up until the end of the season, but we do have some spaces left. If you would like to support us, we also have a Patreon where you can find also some free articles for our very lovely Renee, and so definitely go and check those out as well. We also have merch where, as Scrat says, you can put the crest on your chest. If you want to go and check out Redbubble, and you can see the t-shirts, hoodies, you name it, that's where you go and get it all. We also have some amazing sponsors, one in the form of Bird in the Storm, which is Tool School and Bird vs. Plane, who you may have seen on the channel, and they're linked to their merch, and some stuff that's coming in season 3, which I'm excited about, is coming very soon. We also are sponsored by Mayhem Press, who created the Dark Matter D&D 5e extension, and it's so good for all your D&D 5e meets spacey sci-fi needs. Head over there and check them out. Other than that, every 4 followers and every 10 retweets, I do have an oddities list, because it is the Cypher system, where you can effectively curse or gift, like someone at random here, a weird and wonderful trinket. But other than that, we will hop around and say hi. So let's go around. So first of all, Meg, hello.
Hi, I'm Meg. I play Marcus, and I use she, her pronouns. Marcus uses he, him. And very excited for today's show, as we are finally in presumably Egypt, in the city of Memphis, and last episode was crazy, so that's fun.
Yeah, I've just remembered that Marcus squared up to a crocodile. I literally just remembered that. Of all the things to like there was all the crazy stuff that happened, and that's
could have been worse. Could have been a hippo.
It could have been a hippo. It would have been a lot bad. And speaking of that, Shakes, hi.
Hello. So I am Shakespeare. I use they them pronouns, and so does Zyraxes, who I play on Realm of the Ancients, who is a insane follower of the cult of Dionysus, and very, very anxious to really just get revenge on some people today.
Just everything. I feel they took her honey, like they took their honey. It's over for them.
plus they put something in wine. Wine is very precious to followers of Dionysus, you know.
Yeah,
because it's alcohol. It's like, you literally peed in my temple, dude. It's gonna be fun,
and it's gonna be so chaotic. Then we hop round to our very own fisherwoman mum, Cosima. Hey.
Hello. I'm very excited to be back. Sorry, I was looking down. I have my little notebook out.
No, I'm there. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be back. I've been thinking a lot about Cosima this week. I'm mostly just thinking about the fact that she's on this hunt for her husband. All this crazy stuff is going on, and she's just left her children behind in the care of her family. And I think it's slowly sinking in that if she doesn't come back, they've got no one. And I think that's forcing this drive. And when she went and had a moment outside of Agga's house, is that her name?
Yeah, Agga.
I think that was what was slowly sinking in, the fact that this is kind of an all-in situation. And, you know, there's real stakes here. We freed slaves, we killed a man, we nearly drowned.
Like, you didn't just...
Well, I didn't.
No, you didn't. You just muscled your way out of there. As
I just jailbreaked. I just jailbreaked back to my legal freedom.
Yeah.
But we did free some slaves, and I think it's just sinking in that everything we do matters, and we need and well, she needs to make it through this because she needs to go back. And she didn't leave with the intention of being gone forever. So that's what she's been thinking about. I mean, her children are perfectly safe and she has a large family, so it's fine.
The children are in good care, everyone.
Yeah. They're far away from the DM with her knives.
Yeah,
it's fine. But yeah, I was just thinking about that this week, and it kind of sunk in for me of she really has a wind on this.
No. She's like the one that's like the most calm about everything. Is that like the most
of the time?
like, yeah. Anyway, last but not least, our blue-haired witch, I think, Hestia.
Yes, I'm Amber. I play the blue-haired Thunder Witch, I'm just going to start calling her. I have also a kitty named Merritt, and I'm really excited to keep playing today just because it was hilarious to see Marcus try to be like, I think Hestia called him Hercules at one point, where he's just like, I can handle this, and just like charges out with like all scrawny 2 feet of him. So I'm looking forward.
I love them all so much. And yeah, last week we saw a lot of things. We saw Cosima and Zyraxes in this sort of like jail, this prison cell, getting ready to be sold as slaves. And Cosima did a lot of the escaping, like lifting a lot of people up and literally climbing out of this like jail place. Zyraxes went a bit weird again and started attacking people because that's what Zyraxes does.
They made a flower crown first.
They did make a flower crown first.
They've got flowers in their hair.
Yeah,
now.
just beautiful and terrifying. Marcus squared up to a crocodile, which I think could be my favorite moment of this whole campaign so far. Mm-hmm. This tiny little kid puffing his chest out, and yeah. And Hestia, we saw one of her abilities to create a storm last session, which was also really awesome. And everyone met Adgar, a fairly tall, dark-haired, tan-skinned, strong woman. Seems very keeps very much to herself. She dyes clothes. She seems to make walking sticks and spears and things like that. And almost the polar opposite of her father, who we found out was Obion, who was the man, the fisherman, the tradesman, the merchant that gave basically our adventurers a lift over to Memphis, which is the ancient, well, close to the ancient city of Cairo. And they arrived there, and just for some perspective, the pyramids are being built. So, after finding out Obion was kidnapped, they decided to wait till dusk for night to fall to go and see if they could rescue him. And that's where we find everyone. The sun is setting. Adgar is there sharpening her spear, and also this what looks like a fishing knife, almost similar to Cosmo's. And the sun is going down. It's starting to get that little bit cooler, and all like the noise and the rabble that's going on outside has definitely died down. And you start to hear those like cicadas, those crickets sort of pick up in the night air. What are all of you doing whilst you wait? There was wine, Zyraxes, just so you're aware.
Yeah, Zyraxes is drinking it. Anytime there's alcohol around, Zyraxes will be drinking it. Yeah. They are probably also like daubing on the walls with it. Just like just little nonsense patterns, the occasional word, very weird.
Hestia is standing looking out of one of the windows with Merritt as he kind of sits perched on the windowsill. I think he's probably doing the little kitty chirps that they do when they see birds, but only he hears all of the bugs, so he's just like meep, 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 like just kind of doing that. And she's just sitting there like stroking him and like looking out, just kind of watching the street nearby.
Yeah, you see a few people pass, but you see mainly people maybe packing up for the day. And it's you can see people taking their wares, going back into their homes. You see some fires being set outside, ready for the evening. How about Marcus?
Marcus is... What would he be doing right now? I don't... Because he doesn't have like any of his books or anything anymore, because all of that got lost in the sea when he fell off the ship. So he's probably just kind of walking around, maybe looking out the window a little bit when like passing by Hestia, and also like just observing things, mostly just seeing what's around.
Yeah, you can you'll see Hestia and Merritt. There's a cat that's sort of chirping and purring at the passers-by, and the evening is calming down. It is becoming much calmer, much quieter. You see the fires being lit as well, and people starting to settle in for the evening. And Adgar stands and looks at you all. Shall we go?
Yes.
About time. Right. And she takes this spear from the wall. Right. Follow me.
Hestia kind of puts her cloak up and holds it tight, and then it's like, Merritt, come with me. And then she does this, and he hops up on her shoulder.
Marcus is very eager to get going. He's kind of restless, so he's just like, yeah, let's go.
Zyraxes will, because they still have the whip that they took from one of the slavers. They will wrap it like a couple of times around their neck, like a macabre necklace, and then like stand up, just start walking behind Hestia, kind of staring at Merritt.
Merritt's like,
I'll say Merritt is like eyeing you.
every so often a hand comes up like, no, better not.
And Adgar steps out into this evening. It's not quite pitch black yet, but it is getting very, very dark. And, we've hit 10 retweets already. So, okay, I'm going to roll a number. Let's have a look. Dun, dun, dun. I remembered what numbers I've actually given you. Cosima 1, Marcus 2, Hestia 3, Zyraxes. So Hestia, please. You're back and you are reclaiming all of these oddities again, all of these trinkets.
I just have like a ton of them right now.
You're just collecting bits and bobs.
What is it? A 1D?
1D100, please. 49. Okay, let's have a look. Dun, dun, dun. Ooh, that's pretty cool. So you start walking. You start walking into the night, and you see these fires laid out. You can hear people laughing, chatting, drinking. People are just settling in. The only light is coming from these fires and from the stars overhead. And this huge moon that sits in the sky just settling just above this unfinished pyramid. And as I said, you can hear the cicadas. That's the main sound of the evening. In fact, they're so loud, you only just pick up the people in the surrounding areas as Adgar leads you through the streets. And Hestia, as you're walking, you feel something like metal, you hear the tang, it's not heavy, hits your foot. As you're walking. And Merritt jumps down and starts.
Because it's shiny.
this coin about. And then you realize it's not just one coin, it's 2, 3, 4. There's about 6 or 7 coins here. Made of...
She's looking down.
It's made of like a silver metal. However, you've never seen something like this before. This is a strange silver, but looking at it, it's too hard to be silver. This is a metal you don't recognize. You've never seen it exchange hands in marketplaces before. In fact, there is an image of a person on this coin, but doesn't seem to know what it is. This is a mystery, and the writing around the outside, this is no language you've ever seen.
She picks a lot of them up, and she's like, "Did any of you recognize these?" She kind of passes them around.
Walk into the back of you.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh." God. And then she's like, she like feels one of the snakes on her. She's like, "Here."
Just like holds out their hand, and the snake just joins the rest of it. Just
like I was saying. And then she kind of like gingerly puts one closer to your face. Do you recognize this?
Is the coin shiny? Like, would it reflect the light?
Super shiny. In fact, it's kind of dull, but you think it may have been, like, you could, if you cleaned it up, it would probably be shiny.
There's like an instinctive flinch, like they're expecting something, but then kind of a lean in when it doesn't like glint like regular coins. It's a circle.
So, do you want to be a mage? All
Right.
I can show you how to be a shield.
Marcus.
He's too busy squaring up to the locals.
I like as I'm turning towards him, I catch him kind of like,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What do you need?
and then she's just kind of like, have you ever seen these before?
Marcus will look at the coin.
Could you roll me an intellect check, please, Marcus? You've probably been around more coin than anyone else.
I was just thinking that too.
Okay, you don't. Again, this is something you don't recognize. You've never seen anything like this before, but as you look closer and hold it maybe to like a fire or something, just one of the ones you're passing by, you see a figure, like the figurehead is of a woman, and all the way around the edge you see like swirling patterns, almost like as if it was a storm or wind or something. Okay. So it's like it's showing air, like air is being breathed from this. Okay. And thank you for that sub. You have a reroll to gift to a player of your choice.
But yeah, so Marcus will see this and say, it looks like it's some kind of, perhaps a representation of the element of air. I'm recognizing, not like, a lot of these symbols are entirely foreign to me, but I recognize some of the like basic cultural symbolism here.
Okay, interesting.
So Iraxes look like they have a headache just because took so much talking. That was a lot of words they did not understand, so they just stood there like big child.
And Attica's stopped, and she's looking back at you all like, not expectantly. She's just paused and is waiting.
Oh, coming. Sorry, as I'm like tucking a bunch of the coins in my bag, and then it just like now the bag starts to like jingle a little bit.
And as you catch up and move on, you continue to walk through this night, and the fires become less and less, along with the voices of the people as you leave the town. And you don't leave those, but you're getting further into the outskirts, and you're approaching much larger like villas, much larger buildings and structures. And there is a rather large, almost villa-like thing, a bit similar to what Marcus probably grew up in and lived in, but a very different sort of architecture. And you can see, I say lights on, lights are coming through the windows, probably from fires and lamps. And Adgar has stopped on the outskirts of it. In there. I mean, I don't think we can go up and knock.
Hestia has an ability where she can learn a random fact about a creature or location that's pertinent to us.
Okay.
It's called premonition.
Yeah.
So I think she'd actually, can she like focus on that? Like maybe thinking, because he's being held captive, correct?
Yeah, you know, he's been effectively kidnapped and he's being held here.
So she's kind of thinking on like, where is he?
And you focus for a moment. In fact, could you roll me an intellect, please?
Yeah. Ooh, I got a 3.
Awesome. So, Hestia, you start to look. It's like you close your eyes and you focus. And you see yourself walking down the path up to this villa. You see yourself look in the door, and it's almost like you're walking behind this image of yourself, seeing what they see. And you can see some rooms, and then there's like a rush, almost like you've been swept forward. And you can hear voices. To the rest of you, her eyes are closed. And you hear that almost not that belly laugh, that you know Obian's voice. You can hear him before you see him. And you see light pouring in through a room decorated in paintings and almost mosaic like sort of artifacts across the wall. And you see servants stood by the door. And then it's like a flash and you're back. You will have also seen last minute there is a back door as well.
Did that back door seem closer?
It seems to just be the other side of the building. They seem to be fairly like equal distance to each other, but you saw less servants by the back door.
Okay. So actually when that happened, like I think everyone would have seen like just like a little bit of like, it almost looks like her hair was being blown by the wind that wasn't there, and then almost like just this faint after image of her leaving. But it's almost imperceptible. But then she kind of opens her eyes and she says, "He's being guarded by servants. There's a back door. There's less people guarding it. That might be the smart choice." And she's never like let on that she can sense things to people either. So, and then she's just kind of looking around like,
Zyraxes would be like right in front of Hestia, like because when she closed her eyes and started, what is obviously like to them kind of like, you know, a communing moment, they would have like paced around her and then just stopped in front of her and would be like there. just looking like just waiting to see what's going to happen.
She like doesn't know what to say.
Perhaps someone should knock on the door. The rest of us should go around the back.
A distraction.
Zyraxes will turn and start walking towards the door.
Zyraxes me.
They're really suggestible.
I have never met a truer distraction.
So true. Zyraxes, if you could start making that noise you make.
Just behind behind a bush, like
Just start yowling.
someone's
Oh,
gonna
they-
throw a shoe at them.
They're like walking straight for the front door, just like, okay, knocking is the thing we're doing. So
Adga's not sure, but she has started to walk around to the back, assuming Zyraxes is okay with this because you know them better than she does.
Hestia will start following Adka, and she kind of looks back and as she's watching Zyraxes walk the other direction, she's like, "Be careful. Be, I don't know, just be you. I don't know." And then she just starts walking towards Adka.
Marcus, perhaps you should accompany Zyraxes.
I was just thinking that actually, so good idea. I will stay behind with them. And so Marcus will kind of wander after Zyraxes.
You sent the crazy one and Hercules up the hill.
Baby Hercules.
Baby Hercules.
baby
Bless
her.
my soul.
While the heavily armed strong people go to the back door.
Okay, so is Hestia, Cosima, Adga's walking around the back, so is Hestia and Cosima following?
Yeah, unless Hestia would stay at the front. She
watches Marcus go to, and she's like, maybe I'll stay here.
And Marcus, you see Zyraxes just ahead of you. Do you catch up, or are you keeping your distance?
Marcus is actually going to stay not super far back, but just a couple feet back, just because there's just this mischief streak in him that's I want this to happen.
He's breaking free. He's been living under his father's thumb for so long.
Spring break, woo!
It's his father's spring break.
spring break in Memphis.
Yeah.
I've been walking.
He's like, yeah, I've squared up to a crocodile and everything. You know those stories that come back from those? Yeah. So you walk up to this door. Zyraxes, you get there first, and Marcus, you're quick behind.
Is it a wooden door? Or...
It's a wooden door, and the other side of this, you can hear some plates being buses. You can assume, or Marcus would assume, servants and things like that moving around in there.
And right before anybody knocks, you just see Hestia peeks in between both of them, standing next to each other, and then you see a little black paw sit on Marcus's shoulder, and she's like, "Wait, what are we gonna say?"
And Zyraxes just looks at her no one has ever asked them that before. No one has ever posited that there might be some forethought to what's going on. So there's just this confused whatever comes out of my mouth, usually. And then using the big black rock that they're still just carrying around because they do not have pockets.
You're going to look so aggressive.
They just kind of look at the rock and start banging on the door.
Oh no!
With the rock. It's it's knocking. That's what they're doing.
You just see Merritt's ears do that flick back, where he's just kind of and I'm oh no.
Oh yeah, and with this action, snakes are kind of just dropping and then having to climb back up because it's just dropping.
And as this is happening, if Cosima follows around that, you'll see Adga waiting by the back door, sort of leaning on her spear, just waiting and really listening, ear almost pressed against the back door. She's waiting to hear the front door be answered. You ready for this? I don't know. I don't know if we're going to storm the place, but I'd rather do it in a sneaky way. But I have a feeling with Zyraxes at the front door, it's not going to happen.
We will see what happens.
That we will. And you start hearing this crash, like this banging.
I feel like Cosima just stood there so serenely, like, yep, this is what I was expecting. Just
This is
wait.
happening.
Just let them go.
And you can hear that rock against wood. And all of you stood by the front door hear a rush, like as someone's putting some things down. And a door is opened. Oh! Good evening. Do you have an appointment?
And Hestia like grabs the rock. So sorry. My friends have been drinking. Do you have any water that I could maybe give them?
Yes. Wait, do you have an appointment at all, or?
Zyraxes has gone very, very still because that was a bit too close for comfort. So
Didn't touch the hands.
there's like a reboot kind of happening where they're just frozen, and then their head like snaps around to look at the person who has answered the door. It's not Kessa then.
No, it's not Kessa. This looks to be a servant, and they're just dressed in plain clothes. Very much to what some of you are wearing, just not coloured. And they look at you, and then they just reach for a jug of water and hold it out.
Thank you.
Zyraxes will literally like recoil.
And this person jumps back as well. Is everything okay?
Kessa, we're here for Kessa.
The lady of the yes. May could you is your names and why you're here so I can announce you? I would say, however, though, you may be waiting for a little while. She is putting her husband to rest today.
In a moment of lucidity, Zyraxes stuffs their entire fist in their mouth to stop them from saying anything. like past their teeth are like visibly digging into their hand. It's not comfortable, but they are not going to say anything.
And you will see the servant sort of like recoil themselves a little bit as they look at the three of you stood on this doorstep.
My name is Ardra, and she kind of looks at Marcus like and this is Martin.
I've gone from my other to Martin.
I can't laugh while doing that.
Oh my god.
Martin, yep, that's
This
me.
cat leans forward and just makes like a gesture with their head and like makes sort of a meow, like as they make the sort of sound as you say this. And this servant is looking towards Martin. Like, an interesting name. And are you looking after this one? And sort of points over at Zyraxes, who's got like fist in their mouth.
Yep.
Yeah.
Slightly choking now.
Martin is going to reach over and calmly take Zyraxes' hand without looking at them and take it out of your mouth.
Zyraxes' free hand is going to like grab your wrist.
My god, this is like when you try and get food out of a dog's mouth.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you're not supposed
Just
to.
don't do well with contact, so just like vice
Oh, yes.
bad
Sorry.
grip. And the snakes are not happy.
Would you like me to announce you?
Sure. That's just like not sure at all.
Wait. Here. Sorry, what would your name again?
That is
She kind of like turns and looks at you like Arthur.
Oh! Arthur and Martin. Okay. King of the Britons.
Actually, we're dating Alice.
Zyraxes is
conversation.
starting to kind of like rock on their feet. Like they're trying so hard to just let everyone else do things, but they're like, got like 30 seconds left.
Arthur and Martin, if you wouldn't mind waiting here a moment, I will be right back. And they leave the door open because they're going to come back to you. So are you going to wait on the doorstep or?
No, Zyraxes, as soon as they're out of sight, they will just walk in.
As this conversation happens, Cosmo's gonna try that back door because I don't imagine there are a whole lot of door locks in ancient.
There really aren't. There really are not. A lot of door locks, and you can open this very easily. And you sort of step into or open the door onto like a kitchen, but it's more like an open fire, like a fire pit in the center. You can see a lot of amphorae laid against the walls, and lots of spices and food, and a lot of meat hanging up.
Cosma, acting as if she should 100% be there, is gonna like pick up a bit of food and like maybe like a carrot stick, something like that, just bite it and just kind of munch it quietly and continue as if she should be here walking through the house.
Yeah, okay, so Adka walks in sort of following suit and realizing she's holding a spear and tries to attach it to her back rather quickly and grabs some sort of chicken on the way in following you.
Puts it on the spear and
I'll just get this. And there are a couple of servants in here, so as you sort of stride in, could you roll? What would you like to roll? Are you doing this like, you know, powerfully? You just
I think, this is just about being this big presence that you don't question.
Then roll me a might.
I have a question. I'm proficient in intimidation.
Are you intimidating the servants?
Well, I feel like it's the point of someone strong and powerful who seems to belong here has just walked into the room. I'm not going to question it, and that's where the intimidation comes in.
Definitely.
So she's not like glowering at them. It's just literally,
I'm here. Deal with it.
What I gotta do. Okay, so what does that do? Does that lower it by a difficulty level?
I will lower it by a difficulty, so you only need to roll a 2 for this now.
Okay, which one? I'm just gonna roll my straight thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, describe how you walk in this room.
So basically just strides in. She's got the fish knife at her waist. No other real visible weapons, just this large woman. She kind of walks in, looks around as if evaluating the kitchen, just like, yeah, it's all right, I guess. And she grabs like some food and she just like takes a bite of it and eats it and just wanders through to the next room like she knows exactly where she's going. She should be here. No one should question it.
But you hear some servants, they go, oh, and look at you. But because you stride in with such a presence, like, oh, I did hear someone knocked at the door for a meeting, so... Like they're sort of whispering to each other, but they go back to what they're doing. You've, like you said, you've stridden in with such like presence, they just let you go. And you see another corridor. Well, you see this door that opens up into another corridor of this villa. And you can see a couple more servants. One of them, you hear like, there's a Martin and an Arthur outside, like to meet the lady of the house. And you can hear them talking to each other. And speaking of them, so Zyraxes has walked straight in. What's Arthur and Martin doing? Because that is what I'm calling you now.
So after Zyraxes just walks right into the house, Marcus will kind of like turn and look at Hestia for a minute and go, and then just kind of run into the house after them. Like, not necessarily with the intention of, like, raiding the house, but just, like, maybe in any capacity, the possibility of trying to convince Zyraxes to go back outside.
Zyraxes is just, like, scanning the room, and then we'll look for the nearest door and go through that. And they're just on a mission to find Kessa at this point.
Yeah,
Well,
what
as
do we
you-
see?
Like as you
Or wine.
you can see a lot of decorative things here. There's a lot of trinkets. There's a lot of there's some paintings on these walls of what looks like a ship sailing over an ocean, and it's more there's some fairly simple wooden tables and chairs and bits and bobs like that. There seems to be that looks like to be an area for eating, and the odd goblet that sits on the table.
Yeah, Zyraxis just keep moving. Probably spit at the painting of the sea, but just still moving.
Cyraxes is such a delight.
So many manners. Excellent dinner guest.
And Hestia, did you walk in? Sorry.
Yes.
Yes. You walk in, and Merritt jumps off your shoulder and starts having a bit of a mosey around as well. And you can see two servants ahead of you. One of them was one of the ones at the door. And Cosima, you will see a Zyraxes head poking around one of the corners. As Zyraxes, you will see Cosima and Adgar down the other end of the corridor.
Cosimo's gonna quickly look for another door to walk through.
Yeah. There is a door to your left, which you can open and quickly disappear into if you so wish.
She continues just this slow, purposeful, I'm meant to be here, and just opens the door. She's looking for like a servants area because that's where she would hide someone. She'd shove them in the servants area out of way.
Yeah.
She's trying to like put herself in the head of this devious
You stride open into this room and suddenly you're hit by this waft of like incense and strong smell, and in front of you there is a table with the slaver, Kessa's husband,
Seb.
dead,
Oh, lunch.
kind of not looking as he was after Zyraxes, but there's a lot of flowers laid over them, and you can see this is almost like a shrine. And
Sorry, Cam.
no, go on.
I think seeing this, even though she definitely has no good feelings about Seb, because she is so religious, she would still say some sort of prayer to almost keep like evil spirits away. Just take the dead dude, leave us alone. And she'll slowly reverse and close that door. That is not the room she was looking for.
Adgar like backs out with you, like you're sort of pushing her back out as you move, and you're back in that corridor again where Zyraxes, Martin, and Arthur are, and the servants don't seem to have seen you. In fact, they seem to be going in a couple of other rooms doing other things. And because of Cosima, because you rolled a 5, you're still walking around with this presence. And some of them are actually looking at you, smiling and giving you a little bit of a bow, sort of nod as they pass you. And you can hear voices. You can hear a lot of voices. You can hear about 5 or 6 men's voices. You hear a female voice, though it doesn't sound like Kessa. And then you hear Obian's voice, that loud, booming voice, and you see Adgar like stand upright. I don't know about a book. And you can't quite hear the others, but they sound like they're being aggressive. And you can hear him again. I work with spices, gold, and fabric. Why would I want a book? And you hear like a slap, like skin against skin, as you think he's probably been slapped around the face or something to that extent. And then you hear him again, a bit of a laugh, that sort of oh, you are insane, just like your sister. And then you hear an almighty crack, and that is a proper slap across the face, and he goes very quiet. And there seems to be a murmur of voices, not raised, almost like they're discussing something in this room.
And everyone heard that?
Everyone heard it.
Cyraxes is still looking for Kessa. Like, they would have stopped when they started to hear it and kind of listened, but once they realized the female voice wasn't familiar, they'd have looked for the next door and just kept moving.
Cosima will turn to look to Adka.
And Adga looks like she's pretty much frozen still. It's like she's listening out for her father's voice again. Why would they want him? I need to get him out. And she starts pulling her spear off of her back.
And Cosima will draw her dagger.
Now I need you all to make an intellect roll.
Sorry, that took me way too long to figure out what Cosima was gonna do.
Oh, a 20.
Ooh.
7.
Awesome. Okay. And what was Hestia's, sorry? Let's have a look. Okay. So, first of all, Marcus, you do have an XP to gift to someone else.
Oh.
So who would you like that to go to?
Let's do Hestia.
I think you're muted,
You're muted, Hestia.
but not on Zoom.
No.
You might need to reload it if it's like a glitch. It does happen sometimes.
I was going to say that happens sometimes. But
Means we're all gonna do a little screen dance.
Yeah, everyone's
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Everybody boogie!
Remember who we are.
Musical chairs.
Box swap.
So Marcus, as you've got Zyraxes, who seems to be like prowling around the walls, and you've got Cosima stood by Adga. Looks like they're getting ready. And you turn and look out the corner of your eye as you think you hear the servants off to the left of you again. And there's one of the windows. And it's not got glass in it. This is literally like an empty space in the wall. And there's someone stood at the window looking at you. There is that face, a face you've seen a fair few times. In fact, you saw it quite a lot. You saw the face of a Muse stood in a black cloak looking through the window straight at you.
Marcus is actually going to point at it and kind of like look at the other people around him and say, guys, it's something important. It's the Muse.
You guys hear me?
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm like, I don't know if I'm back.
And Marcus has just seen this Muse at the window, very much like the one you saw back at home.
The Zyraxes will like snap round and just like try and see it. Like,
Yeah, you can look straight out that window and there it is. Just looking at you.
and Zyraxes will take like a couple of steps forward, and there's pure like religious fervor on their face, like they basically are like seeing the face of their god, because Dionysus is the patron of the theatre. So they are very
Yes,
this is a rapturous moment for them, and they are walking towards the goddamn light.
As this Muse sees you look at them, they don't seem too disturbed by it. They just look, turn to the side and start to leave.
Zyraxes is following.
Yeah, Zyraxes can follow. And you follow towards this window, and if you lean outside, you see this Muse walking around the house.
How far off the ground is the window?
Oh, this is all ground level.
Okay, yeah, Zyraxes is gonna start climbing out the window.
Yeah, the rest of you can see this. You see Zyraxes walk down this corridor towards this Muse and climb out the window after it.
Sorry, since I had left the call for a minute, I don't know exactly what happened.
A Muse has appeared at the window, very much like the ones you saw in the first episode.
Okay. So all I see is Zyraxes going out the window chasing
this Muse.
Okay.
Yep. They're having a Phantom of the Opera moment.
Yep.
She looks back at Marcus like, ooh. Also having cat troubles. Hey.
Kitty.
And do any of you follow Zyraxes, or are you literally just like, okay, they're distracted? You know, like when a child's distracted, it's a good moment to do something else.
Since Marcus was actually the first to see the Muse, he, I think, is going to be interested too. He's going to kind of throw an apologetic look back at Hestia and then kind of, someone should watch after them anyway, and then kind of climb out the window after.
So Hestia's like left standing here by herself. And she looks at Merritt and she's like,
you can see Cosima and Adgar.
Oh, okay.
Corridors. They've come back out of this room.
Okay, so they saw that too.
Cosima, for her part, is busy looking around the rest of the house. I don't think she really was noticing the Muse. She's now in attack mode of, right, got a mission, gonna go find this dude, get him out of here.
Yeah, you find some other rooms, empty rooms. Some have servants in them, but again, they're not really paying much attention to you. You find some with scrolls in and what looks like maybe a desk, like a writing desk. At the head of it, you also find like a storeroom full of spices and a lot of the trade stuff. And some of it you're pretty sure was on the ship with you and Obion. And you can imagine a lot of this is stolen.
Mm-hmm.
And as you stand and look at like these bits and bobs, whatever room you go into, you get the sense that you are being watched. And Adgar's sort of like, are you feeling a bit weird?
Always. Since Zyraxes, anyway.
You think
It doesn't matter. The spices are here, they've offloaded the ship. We continue looking until whoever is watching decides to tell us where we should go. And I think at this point, she takes that fish knife and flips it to the hilt and just slowly knocks all of the spices off of just one shelf. She aims for like the cheapest spices. I mean,
there's a lot of colorful spices here. Like as you do it, it's almost like puff clouds of color, and you can like your nostrils fill with all of these smells.
And
as
she's
it happens.
just charged up for a fight at this point. She's just ready and doesn't care if she's going to start provoking people now. And then she'll wander out of that room and into the next one. Yeah. And it's kind of like a cat just getting real spiteful, just real petty and spiteful. It's mostly like knocking things over or, you know, not destroying things, but just disrupting things.
Yeah.
She can't read, so she has very little interest in the scrolls.
You can do that, though. You walk along and you just, with your knife, knock each and everything. And Cosima, can you also roll me a D100 as we hit our follower goal,
Ooh,
please?
I sure can. Roll 100. 18.
Ooh, that's quite a low one.
It's a low one. And thanks, guys, for all the follows.
Thank you.
Now get yourself in the Discords.
Yes.
Yeah.
Head to the Discords. But as you're knocking, like you knock a pot over, like a terracotta pot that's got looks to be like a mismatch of things in. And
Like a herb jar, or
yeah, like it's like a herb jar, but it looks like maybe people have like they've been storing bits and bobs. Like there's some coins in there. There's some bits and bobs. Like
here's your
like a
lesson
man
map.
drawer.
yeah, it's a man drawer. It's like an oddball. It's like an oddball drawer. And as you knock it, it falls and it smashes to the floor, and all these weird little trinkets, bits and bobs fall out. But just there's something that catches your eye, and it's like a pin or like almost like a brooch, but a very thin one for like a cape type thing to hold secure clothing. And there's a bright blue jewel at the end and a name carved into this: Euros.
She'll stoop and just pick it up from the rubble, dust off, you know, the herbs and things.
Yeah, and Adjo's what is it?
Sort of trinket. And she holds it out to Aga, see if it means anything.
Ah, it's pretty. I'm sorry, I can't read.
I suffer with the same problem. And she is gonna just pin this like into her fabric because she's got nowhere else to put it right now.
And as you do, we're going to go back to Hestia. Hestia, you've been left alone in this corridor as Marcus and Zyraxes have climbed out of this window. And Cosima and Adga you've seen disappear into another room. And as you look around, you can't see Merit.
She does not like that at all. Where was the last place I saw him?
Probably minutes ago.
Okay.
If that was Zyraxes and Marcus were climbing out of the window, and you hear Obian's voice again, as if he's come round. And in fact, Cosma, from where you are, you'll hear it as well as you've come across. And there's a room that you're both next to, and you realize that's probably where he's being held. And you hear like a screech and a yowl. This is definitely Merit. Is it? You hear that sort of fighting cat sound, and you hear a voice. So, well, they're obviously here then. We found the messenger, and sort of holds. You can hear as if this cat is being thrown around and screeching and yelling.
No. Hestia, hearing Merit in any kind of distress, immediately runs for where he is.
He seems to be in the room next to you.
And she hasn't found an entrance to that room?
Yeah, there's a door.
Okay.
Right there. And the same for Cosima. There is a door.
I can't see Cosima right now?
You can't see Cosima. Cosima's in another room, almost like adjacent to this room.
And was this the room where we heard about like 7 voices?
You heard Obian in there, and you heard a couple of other voices in there.
I think she would be like super panicky, where she's just like, and she like runs back to where she saw Cosima. And she's like, Cosima, I need your help now. And
I imagine as she comes in, Cosima's hand is like hovering over that door handle or whatever device is used to open a door. And she turns and looks at Hestia.
Now we have to go. And she's like, come on.
Go? Go where?
They have Merit.
And then you hear that screech again of this cat, and you hear this like as there's obviously like bitten or something.
And it sounds like it's through this door in front of me, correct?
Yeah, this is very.
I think instead of opening it with her hand, she's gonna kick the door in.
Yeah, roll me a mic, please.
Right as she's doing that too, you see like Cosima's like eyes start to glow that really like bluish electrifying color, and she starts to like sizzle around her hands, and you start to see like this, like it looks almost like it's getting darker around the edges of the room. She's just getting angry, and she's pulling that kind of storm energy towards her.
So yeah, 5. You raise your foot and you kick this door in. Absolutely knock it off the hinges. And as you do, this darkness from Hector starts flooding into the room. And the sight you see is Obion. He looks pretty battered. He looks pretty bruised. He seems to be passed out. My own cat is currently trying to attack my wires. And
sympathy, that's what it is.
You see 3 men in the room. You see 3 muses in the room. One of these muses holding up this cat that's screeching and trying to like claw down this cloaked arm. And you hear one of them just sort of just like, keep hold of the messenger, as this cat is like throwing itself around and this muse can't hold on to it.
Customer would like to throw her fish knife at that muse. She needs no weapon.
Yeah. I fully believe this.
It's actually in her Cypher description. Needs no weapons.
Roll me a might, please.
17.
Ooh. Well, first of all, you may gift an XP.
I would like to give an XP to Hestia.
Yes.
Thank you.
And as you do this, who are you throwing this knife at?
Or the muse with the cat.
Yeah. On that roll, you throw this knife and it pierces straight through the mask and stays there. And you see blood start to seep from this white sort of grimacing mask. As it turns to look at you, the mask itself bends up into a smile and starts to stretch. But it just slams and crashes down onto the floor, dropping Merritt, who, with that screech, jumps from its grasp.
What I would like to do is grab that door that kicked off the hinges and use it as a battering ram to just charge into this room and just clear the way.
Yes.
Is Hestia going to do anything before this happens?
Yes. Okay, so you would be like just advancing into the room to like grab the door. Hestia would kind of like, she's almost like hovering a little and she like floats in. Just kind of got that storm thing going on. And you just see her like, she immediately looks at who was telling the other muse to grab the cat. And she just lashes out with strikes of lightning at them.
Yeah, roll for me. Roll a might. Or an intellect, it depends, whichever you...
Intellect. Oh, I got it at 20. No.
Then awesome, yeah. Describe how you kill this person as they reach out to yell at the one Cosmo's just completely nailed.
She just like comes in and she just has like the scariest face that they've ever seen. Like she doesn't look nice or kind anymore. She just comes in and it's like Mama Bear, like you touched my baby. And just like she almost kind of screams out as she like just and like lets go of this like crack of lightning, and it just hits the person right in the chest.
Yeah, you do this and you see this person like judder, and probably Cosmo, maybe you'll see Hestia's hair again. There's that breeze that is not in this room, but her hair starts to swirl as this person stops moving very quickly, falls to the floor, and you can see smoke drifting up off of their body.
Both of the angry party mums are now in this room. I was gonna say.
Battle mom.
We're quickly gonna just hop over to Zyraxes and Marcus, and you're looking, and this muse has seen you. He's now running. They are running around this villa, this corner of the house. What are you doing?
Zyraxes is running. And they have long legs, so...
And what's
Marcus is also running and probably lagging slightly behind.
Yeah, you run, both of you run, and you tear around this corner, and as you do, this Muse has stopped because there are 6 more behind them. I need you to make an attack roll if that's what you wish to do.
Cyraxes wouldn't, like, they believe that, you know, the vision they got with this figure was from their god, so they're just seeing more of, you know, they're just seeing more of that. They don't think that they're in any danger, so they would just keep going, like, up to the Muse that was running away, like, just kind of, like, frantically being all like, what do I do? I found them. I came here. I opened my eyes. What now? I need to know. And just, like, focused on the one that was running away, and they are in so much danger. Oh my god.
What about Marcus as Cyraxes approaches them?
Marcus would probably have rounded the corner and just, like, immediately stopped and just stayed back to kind of assess the situation.
Yeah, you both. Okay, so Marcus is staying back, and you can see Cyraxes approaching all of these Muses who start to hum. This low hum. And the one at the front, you see, reaches into their robe and pull out a huge knife. And then we're going to hop back over to Cosima and Hestia. Cosima, what are you doing with that door?
She's literally like holding it out in front of her, arms braced on either side, just gonna use it like a plow.
Yes.
So there's anyone standing in this room apart from Obion.
There's 3 by Obion, but you can easily get them without touching Obion, and then there's 1 more at the right. So if you're going for 3 at a time, I would like you to roll 3 might.
Okay.
Please.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Oh! Okay, so the first one, you the one at the back sees this coming and quickly moves out of the way, sort of pushing Obion out. Like the chair flips over as it happens, as this person sort of stumbles out of the way. One of them, the one at the front, doesn't see you coming. He's not expecting this woman to come in, rip a door off the hinges, and charge at him with it. So he sort of goes, ah, and he holds like his head, and you completely crash into him. But the one behind him, 1, didn't see it coming, and 2, there is now a door and another body being thrown towards him. And describe how you take these 2 out for me.
The door collides with the first one, and it gets them at this awkward in the neck level, just completely chokes them, and they fly backwards. Obion is knocked as the other person is jumping out of the way, and it's just a train wreck. As Cosima just keeps going, she keeps going until she hits the wall on the far side with a person's body, and then she has to drop to the door because a lot of strain just went through her arms.
Yeah, you can. So you effectively, in fact, Hestia, as you sort of stop like roasting this man on the floor, you just see Hestia come storming past you, crushing 2 against the wall, who both drop limp. This other one backs away from Cosima as he's trying to crawl away, as he falls over Obion.
Adga, get your father.
And Adga's already there. She's got her knife out and she is cutting through this rope. And Hestia, this other man that looks slightly fearful after what you've just done, looks like they're about to lunge for you. What do you do?
Actually, at this point, she would have been kind of like looking at all the debris that's, been thrown about the room from just this rampage of Cosima's. And she like kind of collects it, like she gets the wind kind of spinning in the room in like this vortex, and then she just like blasts it all at him just to like knock him over or off guard.
Yeah, you can roll me a might again. Because you force this. Yeah.
4.
4. Yeah. As you do this, you knock this person over. You sort of throw him against the wall. He's not passed out or anything, but it looks like he's probably really hurt his shoulder. And as you knock, you can see his head hit the wall as he slides down. Adga has released Obion, who is passed out, and she is trying to heave him up. As the man on the floor is backing away from Cosima after seeing this force completely take out 2 of his men, as he holds the knife, shaking, pointing at her.
Can I punch him in the face, please?
You certainly can. Can you roll me a might, please?
I can. I also have an ability, because I am a woman who needs no weapon. I have something called Fists of Fury. I inflict 2 additional points of damage with unarmed attacks.
Yeah, roll it. Roll it for me. Okay, just describe what happens, because
knife is held out, and she raises one hand as if she's going to grab the knife, and the other hand just comes flying in and punches his entire face sideways.
Yeah, you almost hear like a crack in the neck. He's not dead, but you have taken him out. Like blood just spurts across his nose, his mouth, and this guy is down, and you hear that clank as the knife falls from their hand. And Adga looks to you, is like, we need to go now.
Yep, she's gonna help Adga with Obion, and on the way past, she wants to grab her fish knife.
Yeah, yep, you can grab that fish knife. What about Hestia?
Hestia already is turning around to start going to where she saw Zyraxes and Marcus leave. And she's like, we have to help the others, and starts turning around.
You can see the window they went out of, if that's where you're going.
Yeah, she definitely starts going right for that.
Yeah, you can run straight to the window, and you're on the outside of the house. Now, Zyraxes, this Muse is stood there with a knife, a huge, almost like a ceremonial knife, and starts walking towards you. Is there anything you want to do?
They're still just talking at it. Oh.
Then I need you to make a might
worried.
roll for me, please.
Oh, my baby. Oh, man.
On a 5? It's pretty damn good. Also, sorry, I completely forgot to say, Cosmo, you've had so many like nat 20s in this. You do have XP to give. It's just hilarious. The Zyraxes, this Muse slashes out with this huge knife, and you dodge what you're pretty sure was meant to happen, but as you turn your face, you get a cut that goes all the way up from your chin across your nose to your forehead, and you feel that welt. But Marcus, you've just seen this.
Sorry. Go on.
No, you're fine. I think upon seeing the slash, Marcus, without like any real plan, just kind of like rushes forward and realizes like once he's just standing right in front of the Muse that he doesn't know what he's doing, so he just stops. Kind of like,
Okay. So are you stopping in front of the one that's just been attacked, that's just attacked Zyraxes? Because Zyraxes,
Yeah.
I imagine you'd fall back a little bit at this, or would you?
Yeah, Zyraxes wouldn't have, when the blow came, it would have been like an instinctive kind of lean, but they wouldn't have actually like consciously moved. It would have just been like a lean. So they've taken like a couple of steps back just out of shock, and are standing there kind of watching the blood drop onto their hands, because they could feel it, because pain is a thing, but they're just kind of watching these like now little droplets kind of fall, and kind of there's a moment where they're just absolutely still, and then they look up at the Muse. And I would like to use one of my abilities. Give me a sec while I just read it.
That's all right. the Muse is going to lash out at Marcus as he jumps in between. Marcus, can you make me a might roll, please?
Okay.
I can try.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
You realize you've run in front of this Muse as this has happened to Zyraxes, and it turns and looks to you and sweeps down again itself, and this gets you straight across the thigh. This hurts a lot. Zyraxes, what are you doing?
I would like to use my onslaught ability, and Zyraxes will just look up, and there is like such an intense look on their face. It is possibly the most lucid anyone has seen him, and they just look straight at this Muse that caused them this pain and just says, I lay my pain at the altar of my god. He demands nothing from me. And he rips the whip from around their neck and just lashes out at the Muse, and at the same time will lash out with a mind slice. So they are actually like just using the force of their holy madness and their devotion to just attack its mind and soul.
Yeah, like roll for me. Roll an intellect and a might, actually. Roll both.
Okay.
We're terrifying. Wait till you see Marcus.
Can I use my reroll on that?
If you would like to use a reroll.
I want to use my reroll on that. Hey!
Oh!
Nice.
And might. Yeah, that's pretty much half the cost, really.
Well, one, you have 2 XP to give.
Hey.
And so you lash out with this whip. And as you do, you see this Muse take a step back, and there's a crack, which Hestia and Cosima and Attica, you will hear. And however, on that 20, describe what you do to this man's mind.
It is like opening. It's like telepathy, because Zyraxes just opens their own mind, and all of that twisted, glorious madness just strikes right to the center of them, and for a second they experience all the pain Zyraxes has ever endured or dealt to themselves in service of their god. They understand every twisted path their mind has walked. They understand in an instant what it's like to absolutely understand everything there is in the world through a completely broken mirror, and to not be able to make any sense of absolute truth. And it is just destroying. It's like having your brain in the center of a collapsing star. It's impossible to fathom. And they just out.
First of all, thank you, Material Components, to give Zyraxes another reroll.
Yay! I need them so bad.
And Hestia and Cosima, you round the corner as you see Marcus stumble back as this blade comes down right into his leg. And you see Zyraxes, this blood running down their face from a huge cut, like a welt that's coming straight across. As reaching out with their hands, you see this Muse start to scream. They drop the knife they're holding and they fall to their knees. And this screaming is like a wild animal, which lasts for like... It seems to last forever. And then everything is silent and it drops dead. There are 5 more stood around looking at what has just happened. As you hear a voice, "What is going on here?" And Kessia pushes through all of them. What would we like to do?
I imagine at the sound of the howling, screaming pain, Cosima looks to Hestia with a look of, well, I know which direction Zyraxes is in.
Yeah.
She's like, oh yes, it's that fox noise.
Like, Adgar's pulling Obion out the window at this point, like just trying to like.
Yeah, Cosmo will be helping with that, and then once he's clear, I could get him away from here. We all have to get the others.
I'll meet you back at the house. And she starts to flee.
Ready? Cosmo looks to Hestia.
Hestia is already like running for where they are. Would I like come up quickly and see what's going on?
Yeah, you'd see it pretty quick. The first thing you would see is Marcus stagger backwards with this blood coming from his leg, and then the absolute chaos, which is Cyraxes.
I think Hestia would run up, like put an arm around Marcus to steady him, and then like reach out with her other hand and cast lightning at the group of enemies. She's just trying to hit as much as she can.
Okay. You roll that intellect for me, please.
There's a 3.
On a 3, you reach out, and there's the rest of you will see this electricity, this sort of static start to engulf 2 of these muses again that start to almost screech and reach out. They don't fall, but it's almost like a confusion, and you can hear them muttering words like witch and sort of power of Zeus, and the sort of screeches coming from this. What is Marcus doing as Hestia comes running up after you've been struck in the leg?
Well, Marcus is a little bit in shock at first, just from like the pain of this blood flowing out of his leg, and then Hestia kind of like grabs him and steadies him, and he has a second to kind of be like, ooh, okay, and kind of get his bearings. And as this like horrible screaming is going on, Marcus is actually gonna look at the knife that got dropped on the ground and go for it, like just grab it.
Yeah, you could. This was dropped almost in front of you, and this is a huge. I say a knife. This is a knife. No, it's like a fairly large, like ceremonial blade.
You played knifey spoony before.
You played knifey spoony. This is the second time this has come up in a campaign in the last 2 days, and this is a curved, like scimitar type of knife with a very decorative hilt. Would you like to do anything with it, or would you like to just pick it up for now?
Marcus is gonna grab it and then kind of back up for a second to see what happens with the lightning.
Yeah. What about Cosima?
Cosima is definitely on her way in. I think she'll take a moment to kind of take stock of the situation, see the muses, but she's looking for Kessler. She has one target in her brain.
You see this woman, after seeing this lightning and this chaos, you see Kessa backing up, almost like she's trying to get away, but she's also so in like so much fear. It's not like she's running.
Cosima, like a bull, is just gonna keep running at this woman until she collides.
Yeah, you'll get to her quick, so roll the might for me.
Okay.
Zyraxes is also heading straight for Cassia, so please don't run them over.
Oh! I do have XP to block it, but I also want to see what happens.
Don't fall over me!
You run. You're almost blinded by seeing Kessia, this rage, that you don't even see Zyraxes in your path, and you just both crash. This is an ultimate crash. Zyraxes is a small body of a person. And Zyraxes is flying, which makes you trip and land.
Wow.
Not on top of Zyraxes. Zyraxes you've effectively booted out of the way. And you both crash together on this floor as Kessa breaks into a run.
I drag myself back up. But I imagine probably Hestia and Marcus need to go because it'll probably take me a little while to get back up. And
What is Hestia doing right now? Because the cat has just you see a Muse out of the corner of your eye lunge forward with, well, not a similar but a smaller dagger to swipe for you. So this cat just launches itself at its face and starts. You can just hear again that screeching again as it's trying.
Oh, that's not okay. That's my baby.
This Muse is trying to get away from the cat.
It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, she would probably just like kind of like send like this low sizzle of like electricity at kind of like the legs to like make the knees buckle and make the Muse fall over. But she's just very specifically trying not to hurt Merritt at all.
Okay, so could you roll me an intellect, please?
Yes.
Cat mom.
Cat
Cat mom got a 2.
You sort of send that tingle of energy. The person doesn't fall over, but due to like the sandals this person is wearing, as you sort of send this energy through the earth, you see they start to smoke.
Okay.
And this person starts almost dancing around as they're trying to get away. They're swiping madly with this knife as this cat is attached to their face, trying to intervene. And what about Marcus? As you're
I was gonna say, it's like, you've heard of the Storm King's Thunder? Have you heard of the Storm Witch's Static?
Yeah.
You can make your hair stand on end.
Yeah.
I'll give you the worst hairdo ever.
Power of shuffling your feet against a nylon carpet.
So Marcus is actually going to see this happen where like this opponent is entirely distracted by the fact that there is a cat on them and also electricity. So Marcus is going to take this opportunity to try to like psych himself up to finally get like his own hit in on something. And he's going to kind of like he's going to stab at the Muse when he gets the chance, trying to avoid the cat.
The cat's well and truly on the face, so
yeah.
The
He's gonna stab at them, but kind of like fling almost his arm at it so that there's more momentum as opposed to actual strength behind it.
Yeah, okay. Well, roll a speed check for me then, please. Oh, a 5. Okay, so as you're running forwards, that momentum you gain, and you sort of swing up with your arm, and as you do, you come down almost like in a stabbing motion. You miss this cat easily, but this knife, this huge blade, just you see disappear into the collarbone and through the chest of this Muse, who has a cat attached to him, has just been stabbed, and feet are on fire. So you see him like gurgle and stop. This crazed dancing is finished, as you can see blood sort of erupt on this robe, and it just crashes to the floor, the cat jumping off at the last moment.
Hestia kind of looks at Marcus like...
There are 2 left that have been shocked by Hestia. However, Cosima and Zyraxes. Cosima first, I believe, as you are getting up. Zyraxes, you were sent flying. Cosima is a human wall. So
Zyraxes is going to take like a good like 15 seconds to even start getting up. They are probably slightly dazed from that. But they will start screaming about false prophets and like looking around for Kessia.
yeah, you can see Kessia herring off into the distance. You can see Cosima getting up there in front of you, but they're getting up to their feet.
I have an option, but let Zyraxes finish that turn first.
Honestly, looking around, like Kessia, how far away is Kessia at this
She's
point?
sprinting. she is legging it. She's quite far away from you.
Okay. Yeah, Xyraxes is just gonna start tearing after her. Probably in a creepy all fours way, because why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
How about, and you'll get there probably in, you might get there just after Cosima.
Well,
depending on what
actually,
Cosima's
what
doing.
I would like to do is slow the woman down with my knife by getting her in the legs with it. So I
Yes.
want to just grab that fish knife and just.
Is it just pure force again, or is this?
This is being thrown, and she's trying to throw it quickly and accurately. It's not about doing maximum damage; it's just about tagging her and slowing
Okay,
her down.
roll me a speed then, please.
All right. I would like to expend some effort.
Of course.
I have an edge, so that takes it down to 2 points, correct, per.
Yep.
All right, so I'm gonna spend 4 points from my pool,
Mm-hmm.
which will drop it down 2 difficulty levels.
Yes, it will.
All right, let me just drop this down. Doo-doo-doo-doo.
Yeah. So you're getting to your feet, and as you do, you pull back and you throw this knife. And it's almost like you see it in slow motion.
It's like
And
it's like fishing.
It's like
spear,
spear
but-
fishing, and
Dagger.
you just see this sink into Kessia's leg, and you hear like a yelp and a crash as this woman falls straight to the floor with an absolute like howl and a cry as she's trying to pull her leg up.
And I think seeing Xyraxis just loping after it, the beast in the night, Cosima's gonna catch her breath and turn to check on Hestia, Marcus, and the large group, because she has every face Xyraxis is not gonna let this woman go.
And you turn back at the moment as you see Marcus, this young, 14, 15-year-old boy. Marcus just reaches in and absolutely annihilates this Muse. And this is probably the first time you've actually seen Marcus do anything violent.
I think Marcus is 17, right?
Oh, 17, actually, same age as
Yeah.
Xyraxes.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's
still.
adorable, so I can't help it.
Nice adorable. And I think for that moment, Cosima's standing there like a proud mom. What?
My boy.
And what's Hestia doing? There
Hestia-
are 2 left. There are 2 left, but they're a bit like you've already zapped them. They're not looking healthy. But
Where are they from me?
they're only a couple of feet away. They're sort of regaining themselves.
Okay. Hestia is kind of she feels almost inspired by like Marcus's strength and like just the fierceness of what he's just done. And so she just you see like the air just grows super like dark and thick around them, and it starts like raining, and she sends like almost from above rather than from her hands, you just see like huge lightning strikes come down and hit both of them. If I can.
Yeah, roll an intellect for me, please. But roll 2.
Oh, okay. I got a 4 and a 5.
Yeah. Both of these, as this lightning strikes, the bodies shudder and crash to the ground. Both of them.
Then she kind of like looks at Cosma and she's like, "We're fine."
There's that head tilt of appreciation, and then she goes back in the direction of Xyraxes, and
Yeah, you can see Xyraxes cantering towards Kessia and closing in the space. What are the rest of you doing before Xyraxes reaches Kessia? Because it's gonna happen. The cat has immediately jumped back up on Hestia's shoulders.
Yeah, I think Hestia is just like the storm around her and Marcus is calming, but she's like looking forward towards where Kessia and Xyraxes are, and she's like starting to send like the rain that way, but she's not striking out because she doesn't want to hit Xyraxes.
How about Marcus? What's Marcus doing after killing his first person?
Yeah, I think actually Marcus is gonna like stand there for a second. Like, obviously he's cognizant that there were 2 more left afterwards. But he's still gonna look at this person bleeding out and dying at his feet for a second, look at the knife, and just have a moment, just get it together, and maybe try to wipe the blade off and keep it on his person somewhere.
Yeah, you can do that. And Cosimo, what is Cosimo doing? As you've checked back to look back at the others.
Having glanced again in Zyrax, he's just seeing this form just through the night, is actually going to go over to the muses on the ground, pull off their masks.
Yeah.
She wants to see if these are people or if these are more phantoms or what the deal is.
You start pulling off all of these masks, and beneath you see men. Normal looking men. Each one of them has a tattoo up around the side of their face. Their heads are shaved, and this tattoo seems to swirl from the chin all the way up around their head, almost to come into like a crown at the top.
And it's just like a swirl motif, like a Grecian coil.
Yeah, in fact, yeah, unless you take further investigation time, it just looks like one of those generic swirls.
I think because this is so odd, she will pause and she will take a good look at this because this is important.
Yeah, roll me an intellect then.
Sure. Sure. I apologize for my sandwich eating.
So 1, again, you have an XP to gift.
I give this to Zyraxes. My precious honey.
It's like, fly, my pretties, fly. And you...
Yep, basically. That's...
Cosmo, you look at this.
Thank you.
And you see what was found earlier on Hestia's coins she found in the street, and it's like a breath of wind.
And Cosima hasn't got the best mind for symbology or any of that sort of thing, but she's gonna just block this in her brain as if she was remembering a map, as if she was remembering a course that she had to take on a sea. And then she'll take a breath, and she'll turn towards Alexis and start heading in that way, just in her head, just really trying to lock in this swell.
Yeah, you can do that. And I'm very sorry, Zyraxes, but there is a storm headed your way and it's raining. As you start cantering towards Kessia, you feel that rain, that downpour, and the black clouds, even though it's not. It's like as if it could get any darker. It's like it blocks out the stars as you are cantering towards Kessia, who is screaming, seeing this form of you running towards her.
Fortunately, Zyraxes has less trouble with rain than they do with the sea. It's like, if it's coming down, it's not collected. Puddles, less happy about, but just in droplet form, it doesn't really register as water, if that makes sense. It's more when it's collected up and they're just like, they are fully focused on Kessia, and as they are running, they'd start going pointy again, and their hands would just erupt into these black, like, not human, not animal looking talons, so they are tearing up the ground as they are kind of monkey running along to just grab Kessia and make sure that she's not going anywhere, and just kind of like clawing their way up until they're almost like crouched on top of her. And there's just this beat, which if anyone saw the demise of her husband would look very familiar as, oh, your face is disappearing. But Zyraxes freezes and just puts these claws right on Kessia's face under her eyes and just leans down. You will answer.
And she just starts to scream.
And the claws start just pressing in. Just like, you know, when you put your thumb on a tack and you can feel that it's going to break the skin. It's just that, those 2 points of pressure. And Zyraxes is ignoring the screaming and just repeats themselves, you will answer.
And the rest of you will just hear this screaming, and you will have Zyraxes sat atop this woman.
Hestia is going to, like, she'll just calm the storm as she walks up and she stands, like, kind of towering over, just, like, looking down at this. And she's like, you will answer.
And this woman looks like she hasn't taken her eyes off of Zyraxes, and it looks like she wants to nod her head, but too fearful of Zyraxes' like fingertips. She's like, yes, yes, yes.
You know that scene in A Knight's Tale where they're all looking down at him? From
Yeah,
like,
you have been weighed. You have been
found one.
Yeah.
That is effectively what is happening right now. Just
Like Merritt's like,
disturbed. Yeah, Merritt's head appears over the top.
like I imagine it's like Hestia's like looking down and some of her blue hair is kind of falling in her face, but then you just see like little cat ears like peek out, and he's like,
Yeah, there are also like snakes just dropping onto.
Yeah, she's
chest.
literally just like,
just everywhere.
and she nods. She says yes, yeah, and then she passes out.
And there's a moment, and then Zyraxes kind of goes, and then just looks up at everyone else, and like, for someone who was so fearsome and strange and unnatural a moment ago, and they still have claws and sharky teeth, but they just look really confused, like a child who doesn't understand why that butterfly isn't moving anymore. Just like,
we take her to Agga's. More questions there.
it's okay, she'll wake up again, and then she'll answer.
Zyraxes like gets to their feet and then just reaches down and grabs a handful of Hestia's hair. Like they're just preparing to drag her through the streets. Hilarious, because they're like, they have a toothpick body that they're just gonna drag.
They're dragging Hestia?
No, I'm sorry, Kessia.
Oh, okay, I was like, wow, she's touching, like...
Sorry.
Cosima is gonna stoop down and collect her fishing knife trusty weapon.
Yeah, this is in her leg still.
Wipe it off on the woman's clothing, put it back, and then she'll lift them up. She'll let Zyraxes keep a handful of hair if Zyraxes wants a handful of hair.
Oh no, to be fair, it's like Zyraxes would have taken like 2 steps and Kessia would not have moved. Like, Zyraxes cannot move this woman. So as soon as Cosima picks her up, Zyraxes will just let go of her hair and just stand by Cosima like, okay, ready to go.
Hestia also makes her way over to where Marcus is, and she kind of rips a little bit of clothing off of her cloak, and she's like, may I? And she points kind of like, or gestures like at his leg.
This also feels like you need to limp a little bit, Marcus.
Yeah. Marcus will kind of like take a step a little bit to see how his leg is at first, and then kind of like wobble, feel the pain, and then say, yeah, that sounds great, thank you.
Hestia like leans down and she ties some of the cloth around just above where the wound is to stop the bleeding, and she like yanks it kind of tight where she knows it's a painful thing, but she has to do it. And then she looks up into Marcus's eyes, and she's like, I have some herbs in my pouch that can help with the pain, but we need to get back inside.
Okay, that would be wonderful, thanks. And he'll kind of start to limp over to join the rest of the group.
Yeah, you can hobble. It's not really bad. You're not like really hobbling. It's more that you sort of go, oh, that hurts. Like it's almost like you're not. It's not deep.
It's tender.
Yeah, it's tender. It's
Like a twisted ankle rather than a sprained one.
Yeah. And are you all heading back to Adga's then?
I think so.
Zyraxes is following Cosima.
Yeah, you can walk back through the streets.
I think
And-
Cosmo would aim to keep to shadows and
Yeah.
back of buildings.
Zyraxes is still like their face is bloody.
Yeah.
Like they've got a big slash
Oh my-
across their face.
This
and
is like
it's
a
just-
mirror of our first session. Cosmo is carrying a body. Zyraxes is bloody. Marcus and Hestia are falling along.
And Hestia has a cat.
Yeah.
And Hestia kind of like looks over, like she's reaching like some of her cloak, and she's like, looks at Zyraxes, and she's like, "Do you want for your face?"
And Zyraxes is just so confused, just like, I don't wear clothes on my face.
It's to help with the bleeding.
It will stop. And there's almost a note of, it's almost a note of comfort, like Zyraxes doesn't think Hestia knows. Just like, it will stop.
Okay. She's just kind of like used to like, I tried.
You can walk back through the shadows. You can avoid. It's very easy to avoid people. The dark, like the evening has really settled in. There are a few fires still left with people sat around them, but they're either merry enough or tired enough to not really see you. And you can walk back down that street. Back
Cosmo's
down.
being very wary of those dye pits. She does not want to end up in one of those.
Yeah, no, you don't know. There's quite a few dye pits around, but you can see them. It's more that you see a lot of the washing lines and sorts of things like that around, and you see a light on in Adgar's home. And do you walk straight in, or
How long does it take us to get from there to Adgar's?
maybe 15 minutes?
Okay, I'm no longer pointy then. Just
Yeah.
checking. They will have been like dragging their nails across like random like buildings as well. So there's just like random 4 lines of scoring across certain buildings, just like a kid dragging a stick along a fence. But they're not pointy when they go in. But they'd just be.
Sorry, go ahead.
They'd just be following Cosima because they've got Kessia. Lots
Yeah,
of Kessias.
Cosmo, for her part, is definitely just walking straight in and gonna unceremoniously just dump her on the floor
Yeah.
and then just stride over, like delivery duty done. And she's gonna go and look for the wine because it's been a night.
You can see it looks like she's already poured wine, and there's big jugs of it as well. You can see some candlelight that is all and a fire at the center of the room that she seems to have set up, almost like in a pit. And she, as you walk in, she looks to Zyraxes covered in blood and doesn't seem too like put off by it. Like the first time she saw her, saw them, they were covered in blood. But she sees Marcus hobbling, she's like, oh my gosh, she goes, sit down, like, and her only stool she's dragging over to Marcus.
And he very graciously kind of bows his head and thank you and takes his seat on the stool. And honestly, I was just gonna like grab some of the wine and start.
Yeah, like she's putting wine on the table. She's putting a load of those more the flatbreads, that fragrant flatbread on the table. And Kessia is just like on a heap on the floor where Cosimo is just dumped her.
We brought you a
Zyraxes.
gift.
Yes, I see. And she sort of just steps over her to go over to make sure Marcus is okay.
Zyraxes is like daubing a line around Kessia in what seems to be quite a lot of fresh blood, so
Yeah.
one of their snakes is probably missing.
Mm.
And just like making like this, it's not a perfect like line, it's like broken up and weird little letters and random symbols just around her, like it's going to keep her in, and then just kind of crouches by her head, waiting.
How
And-
is your father? Sorry.
No, okay. He is sleeping. In fact, Marcus, what did they strike you with?
Marcus is actually going to pull out the knife and just like show it to her.
Yeah, she like immediately takes it off you, and she looks at the blade and she starts sniffing it, almost all along the edge. She's like, "No, you're fine."
Good to know. And he'll just take it back and tuck it away.
And Adgar looks over at Cosima again, like, "He's been poisoned. He's stable, but he is making no sense at all."
Hestia,
Yes.
do you know anything of healing?
And she like looks like almost uncomfortable by this question. And she's like, yes. And then she like approaches and she starts taking a look at him.
And you can roll an intellect for me, please.
Ooh, 5.
Yeah, you at a 5, you look him over and he seems to be in like a hot sweat, like a fever. And he's laying there just sort of moving all over the place. He doesn't seem to be with his feelings. He's sort of shaking a bit, and he shudders every now and then, and you can tell this is a fever that he may have to ride it out. And from your previous healing, like, he needs to be kept cool.
Okay. She like pulls her hand off his forehead and she's like, the fever is very high. I might have some herbs in my pack to ease the discomfort, but we should keep him cool. Do you have any cold water or anything?
Yes, I do. And she's
and rags to lay over his body.
Okay. And she looks worried. It looks like maybe she's kept it together until this point, and you see it, she's grabbing some of the clothes. She runs outside and grabs the clothes of the lion and starts just throwing them into what looks like a barrel of water. And she's I just drape them over him.
It'll be best to put him in areas of his core that will make him, it will affect the most important parts of his body. And she's like the groin and the armpits will be the best. And then she's like rummaging through her bag to see if she has any herbs that could help.
Yeah, you probably have some herbs that feel like the strong smell. Like, and you seem to realize when you waft those near him, it's like he doesn't come to, but he's far more responsive to it as Adgar is laying all these cold, like, compresses basically all over him.
Mm-hmm.
And she sits on the floor, sort of head in her hands, just watching as you move these herbs up and down the body.
And while she's doing that, she'll look at Marcus and she'll be like, the one there with the red cap, sprinkle some of that in your wound. It'll prevent it from getting an infection. And she's like, your father might be like this all night. We'll have to see. We'll have to keep changing the cloths to make sure he stays cool.
I can do that. And Marcus, as you're doing this with like your wound, the cat's coming over, sort of sniffing at it a little bit and recoiling, but padding at your arm. If you're hesitant to put this, because it'll probably sting, it's like the cat puts its paw on your hand and pushes you to do it.
Oh, you're so cute.
And you can hear like, as Kessia isn't conscious, but she's moving more. She looks like she's coming out of. She may be gaining a bit more consciousness.
Araxes is making like a low growling noise, just kind of almost like mantling over her head, just like crouched and just staying there like.
Yeah, you can basically sit on her if you want, and she's not really moving.
Yeah, so Marcus is just gonna kind of grit his teeth through putting the herbs onto his wound, and then as he kind of hears like Cassia waking up, he'll kind of give Xeraxes a little bit of a hey, like easy kind of thing, and kind of crouch down and be like, guys, should we tie her up or anything maybe?
When he says that, you just kind of see like Hestia kind of go like this, and like some rope floats out of her pack, and she's like right there, as she's like still going on with like the rest of the herbs.
Cosima will stand. She'd been sat at the table drinking deep in the wine and letting the situation kind of figure itself out a little bit. And she, as she passes Marcus, she pulls that pin that she'd pinned into the fabric of her dress outfit toga thing, and she presses that out, like not stabbing it into Marcus's hand. She'll do it like gem face down. You did well.
Oh, wow, thank you. I really appreciate it. And he'll just kind of maybe pin it on his clothes and then just sit there feeling very proud of himself.
I don't know its origin. It was probably stolen, but it's yours now.
Oh, okay. Well, it's still nice. I like it. And he's gonna pat it.
She will just squat beside Xeraxes. The circle will keep her here.
The circle marks her. I do not know what will keep her here, but I will keep her here. She is a liar.
The jug of wine, having been brought from the table, just put down next to Xeraxes, and Cosima goes back to the table.
Yeah, and you can sit either in silence or for probably an hour goes by as Hestia works on Obion, and he's muttering strange words, things you don't really understand. And you keep, the certain words you keep hearing are like the book, which you heard them shouting towards him, and just certain things. Most of it is gibberish. And you hear again every now and then those same words, the seek us where our voices sound, like as he's sort of going in and out of this consciousness. The king's words. Must find the king's words. And he's not making much sense. And then there's some other words he says which, in fact, you could probably guess are maybe another language.
It's not Thracian, is it? Just checking.
Nope.
Just checking.
Cosima has her fish knife out in her hand, and she's listening to the muttering of Obion, and it's reminding her very much of how her father died in a fever, muttering. And with the point of the fish knife, she's slowly carving into Aga's table, kind of totally unaware she's doing it, that swirling pattern that she's seen in that tattoo, and trying to piece together what is going on. And then she adds to Obion's din with kind of, they called the cat the messenger. I thought you or Xeraxes, but the cat is the messenger. And she's starting to sound almost like Xeraxes as she's chanting away to herself, trying to figure this out. The Muses are men. They are not spirits. The Muses were spirits. They're now men. And And she doesn't even realize she's morphing into Zyraxis as she's putting together these pieces and carving into the table a strange pattern.
Marcus will actually notice that Cosma is kind of like losing it a little over there, but he kind of sees what she's doing. Like as she's talking out loud, he can kind of see the flow of her thoughts. And he kind of stands up and hobbles a little bit over to her and is like, they mentioned, Obian said something in there about a book. Zyraxis also mentioned a book in the prophecy. And, oh, we didn't tell you about this. When we were underwater, Hestia and I saw a giant hand under the water. I don't know what any of this means, but we all need to be sharing as much information with each other as we can.
Where they reached for the sky. Were we already there? Where we were meant to be?
Zyraxis has poured the wine over their head. By the way.
Standard.
Little Zyraxis shower.
Yeah. So you know, just the blood might, you know, it's coming off a bit, but
And Hestia
she's
actually
partially over like Kessia's head as well.
Yeah, she's just, you just see like, like everything's
Hestia has this skill where she can remember or memorize things she's experienced directly, and as she's standing so closely over Obian and she hears that language that she doesn't immediately recognize, she kind of focuses on it a little bit. Does it sound like anything that she's heard before, or maybe looks like any of like the language that she's seen on some of these objects?
You don't recognize the language itself, but on the pin that Marcus wears is a name. But on the jewel itself, you see that swirl. The same, Cosima, you will have noticed this as well. That same tattoo on the head is on this pin. It's on that coin that Hestia had.
And I imagine I don't think Hestia would know what the pin that Marcus has looks like, but she would have shown Cosima as she was like going around showing everybody the group before.
It's a cult. There's a symbol in me, the wind. And Cosima is obviously starting to get frustrated because she cannot piece it together. And she's never been good at puzzles. She likes, you know, A, B, C, get on, do your life thing. And it's frustrating her, and her hand is tightening that grasp on the dagger as it's kind of dragging over the wooden surface, and her knuckles slowly turning white. I don't know what this means. I don't know what we're meant to do, who we're meant to find.
Zyraxis is going to stand up and walk over to, I imagine everyone else is kind of congregating if they're looking at this symbol or they're comparing symbols, and just kind of look down at the symbol. And Zyraxis, pretty much everything they know comes from their madness and their gods, so they're just staring at this symbol that they've never seen before because they didn't see the unmasking of the muses, and not trying, like it, almost trying to remember something they've never known, just staring at it and hoping that their god will tell them something.
You could, so I just want to check something. Zyraxis, Cosima, and Hestia, can any of you read?
Zyraxis could read Thracian and like basic Greek.
Okay.
I don't know if they still can. It might come and go. It's very much at your whim, really.
Cosima can do numbers and maps, and that is it. No place names, just the maps.
Hestia definitely can read, and she's studied a lot.
Yeah. So, Marcus, as you were given this pin, you did see a name on this pin.
Okay.
But the others wouldn't have seen it. And Cosima, you would definitely. You're the one who picked up the pin, but you don't know what it says.
What does the name say?
The name says Euros.
Okay.
And Cosima, I would say you would recognize that straight away.
Mm-hmm. Is that EUROS?
EUROS.
Okay.
This is a god. This is a god that you'd know of. It's the god of. It's normally associated with like autumn and harvest, towards that time of the year, and also known as the east wind, which is what comes in at that time. And you can see that pattern, that same pattern, very much like the one tattooed onto their heads.
I think if she's told the name, she would put it together, but until she's told the name, she's just saying a swell. It could be wind, could be anything.
Yeah, I think once people start actually talking about it and comparing it, Marcus will point out the name on the pin.
God. And then she realizes she's talking like Zyraxis, where she's talking in weird fractured sentences. Euros is a god. And then she realizes everyone probably knows that. Probably. We're all Greekish.
You may have done it. It's not a major god. It could have been. Maybe Zyraxis would have heard it, but of a different name.
Mm-hmm.
Not too
Possibly.
sure what the name is, but
yeah, I have no idea what it would be.
Like Hestia's like still kind of like waving things above Obi, and she goes, "The east wind."
Yes, he's a small god and usually mentioned in the autumn when the winds change and tides turn. Some cult of his, maybe? The Muses, the ones today, they wore a mark, tattooed with a mark, coiled around their faces and onto their heads. I'm hurriedly reading a Wikipedia article which contains information.
my bad.
And now the pin with his name and your coin, did that not bear some mark too?
She like kind of flicks up her free hand, and the coins float out of her purse and just kind of settle on the table next to them.
Zyraxis, can you... Cosima is really already regretting beginning the sentence. Can you reach out to Dionysus, seek answers, guidance? We've been blown around by the wind, taken off track, taken back, confused. We need more than we know.
I follow him. He leads the procession. I do not ask things of him. I do not know how. And there's a tremble in their voice because it's not the kind of worship where you go to a temple and ask something of a god. So they are at a complete loss how they would even ask something of Dionysus, because to them everything they say is partially to Dionysus. Like they have whole conversations which is just for Dionysus. So they don't even know what they're being asked to do, let alone how to do it.
Drink deep, Zyraxis. Perhaps you'll see their footsteps in the wine. Like, Cosima is reaching for anything at this point. Yeah. And she kind of understands, like, you don't really ask the gods, for answers. They either do or they don't once you ask them something.
And Zyraxis, if there is another, because they've already emptied one wine jug over
there's
their
a
head.
lot of wine here. You see Adgar keeps going. She seems to be nervously doing things as Hestia is trying to work on Obion.
When the house was described, did you say there was a back open area, like where she was drying things?
So like there's
like a back garden?
It's almost like more out the front and off to the side. So you'd have to go out the front door to go round, but you can see the big pits of the dye and everything like that.
Zyraxes will take up one of the jugs of wine and just like pull a handful of the snakes off the swarm on that arm and kind of stand for a minute and then just walk out the front door and round the side. There will be a lot of noises.
Cosima's head.
And a lot of singing, weirdly.
Cosima's head just kind of drops between her hands as she tries to just make her brain work better than it is, make her thoughts make sense. And she drags out that quartz and just puts it on top of this swirling symbol and just stares into its depths. Her eyes briefly kind of raising to like a Marcus. And there's just a helplessness. She's become so much smaller than she normally appears because she is just so helpless and doesn't know what to do anymore.
As you look at this quartz, it's like you see a shadow walk across it. Just walking up some steps. This is all more of like an outline. You can't see any real detail. And for a moment, that carving on the table seems to ripple like an actual breeze into this quartz, and you see the shadow in this quartz almost like get blown slightly to the side and walk up these steps into this hall, and then it's just like it clouds over.
Do you see anything in it, Marcus? Anything in any of this?
I only small shapes and shadows. I saw footsteps upstairs down a hallway. I saw the symbol. That's all I could see. But I can see things in this quartz. Maybe we should look at it again later. I'll check it out again. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, what was Zyraxes doing outside? What are you trying to do?
Zyraxes has basically found a space where they are open to the sky.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll stand for a moment just staring upwards. And then we'll look down and we'll start to drag in the dirt to try and make what they think of as their symbols, but it's this mix of Thracian and Greek and just pictorial shapes. It's very much like a toddler's drawing of something that's important, but you can't tell what it is. And they will put that obsidian stone down in the center. And some snakes will go bye-bye, and it will be covered in blood. And then Zyraxes will have dinner. Trying to be euphemistic here, but yeah. The snakes are expendable. And will, down this entire jug of wine and just press their now completely bloodied hands into the dirt on either side of this stone. And will just start wailing. And it is a desperate sound. It is a cry for answers because they don't know how to ask for them. So they're just begging in the most basic way they know. Just screaming at this stone that they think has been given to them by a god or by the gods for some reason that they don't know yet. They're feeling very betrayed because of the muses. There's anguish here.
Can you roll me an intellect, please?
Yes. Oh, come on.
Nothing happens.
They're going to start crying.
I was going to say Zyraxes screams out into the night, and that is what you will all hear from outside.
You have a reroll.
They're too scared to use it.
You have 2 rerolls, in fact.
No, I just have the one
Oh,
because I used my Yeah, I used my last one today, and then I was gifted another one.
It's up to
Yeah.
you.
There are now like tears falling onto this stone, just like blipping away the blood. They're very stressed. They will scream until they are hoarse, and then we'll go back inside, clutching the stone in both hands, and we'll just go over to a corner and sit in it, and just like lean against the wall.
Do you see Adga just sort of almost dozing? She's holding her father's hand. She's sort of been resting her head against him for a while. She seems to have been praying or something. But you've heard those prayers go silent as you think maybe she's drifted off. And Merritt is currently sat by the windows, was watching Zyraxes for a little bit, out of interest, and then padded down and was sort of jumped up onto the main table and has gone to sit by Marcus, just watching Marcus, sort of looking at his leg every now and then, looking back up and forth.
Marcus will kind of look down at Merritt and be like, they keep calling you the messenger. What's so special about you?
And this cat looks at you, doesn't stop, look at you, doesn't like blink or anything, just watches you.
Marcus will kind of, you can't talk anyway, and stand up, and since Atka has fallen asleep, he's actually going to check and possibly change Obian's rags for him.
Yeah, you can walk into the back room and find Hestia, Adgar asleep, face down. You start changing the rags over. What is Cosima doing? Is Cosima continuing to drink?
I think so, to be honest. I think she's just hit that wall where she needs to go to the quiet and still place. I think there's a dark part of her that is contemplating just slitting Kessa's throat. But A, Kessa's not her prisoner. It's Adgar's business, and B, there's been enough murder today. So she's just there. She's just in a dark mood.
Yeah, you can see Kessia's chest just rise and fall as it's almost like she's calmed down and she's just breathing steadily.
And yeah, she just continues to drink. She won't drink to the point where she's drinking all of Adgar's supply or anything, but just, you know, a reasonable couple of bottles or whatever.
Probably feeling pretty tipsy right now, like that sort of hazy.
That kind of hazy, sleepy place. And I think it will hit the point where she falls asleep, staring with maybe like her cheek to the table, just staring at that scroll and the quartz, and she'll probably have very weird dreams.
Yeah, you can sort of rest your head down on the table and you can feel that carving almost in your cheek. And you think for a moment that shadow in the quartz turns round and you see your husband's face. He turns to continue walking up these steps as you slowly drift off and you dream of that ocean you crossed and what dwells in its depths. And Zyraxes, are you sleeping or are you...
Zyraxes will have their moment just like hugging the wall. When they start to feel that they, are collapsing a bit, they will go over and sleep on top of Kessia, so she can't get away.
Yeah, you
like just sprawled on top of them completely.
Yep. And what about Hestia and Marcus?
I think Hestia is still keeping a close eye on Obian. She is getting sleepy though, so she's kind of like felt his forehead, tried to see if he's getting worse or staying the same. But then she just kind of like takes a blanket and sits back in a chair, and she's just kind of like nodding off, but internally she's thinking about how good it feels to heal again.
Yeah, Marcus will just kind of find any way that he can to kind of curl up. He knows that he needs to rest to heal, so he's just eventually going to go to bed.
You can all sleep through the night, and it's probably not until early in the morning that sun shines through those windows. You can hear, as you rest your eyes, you hear Adga getting up, checking on her father, disappear outside, but you can hear her around the side of the house, probably doing chores. You can smell that bread being baked. You can hear people waking up for the day. This is still early morning though. This is like sunrise. And Hestia, you'll probably be very aware that the cat has been asleep by your feet, sort of curled up around them. You feel him move, sort of stretch up, and it's almost like you hear him pad across the room you're in and push the door open and walk into the next room. Could you roll me an intellect, please, in your sleepy state?
3.
On a 3, you're tired. You're very, very tired. But there was something about the cat that didn't feel like it normally felt. It wasn't like little paws walking across that stone floor. It was like 2 feet. And then you remember that door to the bedroom was closed. It was closed by Adga. Shut. Not locked, but you don't think a cat can open and close that door.
She kind of like, she's like, has her eyes closed and she's like sleepily contemplating this, and then she just eyes snap open and she quickly looks at Obi and sees that his breathing probably looks pretty even.
It's steady,
but
it's much better.
But she stands up and the blanket just falls off her, and she immediately looks to the door and just starts walking out towards the cat.
Yeah, it's still pretty dull this morning. The sun isn't quite up yet. You see Merritt pad out the front door and walk around the side of the house.
She kind of like huddles her cloak a little close and she leans out and looks out down around the house, but then she starts to follow him.
Yeah, you can follow round and you can see some people waking up. Some of them seem to be cleaning clothes in the morning. And he pads further round to where Adgan normally sits. And it's still in the shade where this is. He stretches out. You see like the back legs go out as he stretches. And then jumps up on the side of where this pool is, where this dye is normally done. There's no dye in it. And just sits there for a moment and looks at you briefly.
She walks closer to where he's sitting. You're not just a cat, are you?
And it's almost like it pads at this pool side where it's sitting. Like it's like scratching, but at the same time it's weird. It's almost like a you get that sense of sit with me.
And she comes around and she, like, slowly and gently rests herself next to Merritt, and she just kind of looks at him.
And for a long time you sit and look forward, and you suddenly feel that warmth on your back as the sun starts to rise. And it's strange, you look at Merritt, and it's strange. It's like he almost becomes transparent, and another image sits in his place. The cat is still there. It's like you're seeing half and half as a young boy sits with his feet dangling in this dive pool. Blonde hair, simple clothes and sandals, and a small sort of gold helmet adorns his head with wings at the side.
And she just smiles at him. The messenger, she asks.
And he sort of looks up to you. You get the feeling he can't say anything, but just smiles a little bit, almost like a shy smile, and nods.
She's like, I wish that you could tell me what you need to. She looks like she's contemplating like how to communicate with him.
And he looks a bit disheartened that he can't speak back. You can see his lips move, but you hear no sounds.
And she tries to reach out with her premonition, because she can also learn things about a creature or a person. She tries to, like, you see that, like, wind kind of, again, where her hair seems to flutter, and now she's almost becoming the one that's spectral looking, and it, like, a piece of her reaches towards where he's sitting, and she tries to open herself up to communicate with him.
Yeah. Roll an intellect for me, please.
Ooh, 5.
5. Awesome. So whilst this is happening, all of you slowly start to wake up in the house. Hestia doesn't seem to be there, but Obion is coming round, like, rubbing his temple, like, oh my god, what did I drink? Like, as he sort of props himself up. And Adga is just sort of throws, it's probably the most, like, animated you've seen her. She throws her arms around him. And he's just sat sort of groaning a little bit as Irax's Kessia starts to stir underneath you.
Zyraxes, they'll kind of get up, so they're crouching beside her again, but crouching between her and the front door, so she ain't going anywhere, but just kind of watching her wake up. And there's that kind of tension, like, yeah, they're about to move, but they haven't yet, kind of just...
Yeah, you see the eyes sort of blink, slowly awake, like flutter open almost. And her head lolls either side and lolls towards the wall. Looks confused. And then lolls the other way and sees Marcus. And jumps up, effectively. And then realizing their leg hurts, you see a hiss and they grab it, and then she tries to back up into the corner.
Zyraxes will follow her.
Yeah, you might just want to sit down. Marcus is still kind of like half asleep, and he's like, that one is, you're not gonna get past that one.
And she's like, she's not saying anything. She is wide-eyed. She's shaking her head. She's like breathing very panickedly, and she turns to see Cosima as well, and immediately looks down at her leg and back up at Cosima.
Cosima is full on like, I have a headache. And she just, Aga, your guest is awake, and just massages her temples. She's ready to basically like drop the woman if she has to, but she's not moving until that point.
Cyraxes is growling again.
Cyraxes is best guard dog.
Yeah. And back outside, Hesse, you've almost, if anyone was to look at you right now, they would see you sat next to a black cat. But what you see is this boy smiling at you sort of weakly, looks friendly, and almost like this spectral form of yourself as it's like it slides towards him, like it leaves your body. And you just hear a voice. Hermes. My name is Hermes. And that's where we'll leave the realm of the ancients this week.
Oh my gosh.
I thought that's who it might be.
It's like we just had wings on the helmet. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a messenger, guys!
Yeah. It was like, it makes sense.
But yeah, so we are going to go around, plug yourself away, and also let us know what your favorite bit is. So we are going to hop around, same as before. We're going to go to our little badass at the moment. Like, Martin is what I'm going to call him. Because Martin killed his first person today.
Martin the murderer.
Blooded in battle.
It's rite of passage.
Yep.
He's a man now.
But yeah, so I'm Meg. This is my only stream for the week, so you will find me here on Thursdays as usual. And I also run my real life D&D parties campaign diary over at elfnotes.com. And you can find me on Twitter at Pishkinban, Piscinban. There you go. And my favorite moment, oh my gosh. So I've been wanting to know what was up with Merritt for so long, so that ending was really exciting to me. But also, just the badass fight moms moment, so good. So yeah,
It is so badass, like fight moms though. Like, don't touch my children. Like, so raging.
That's my cat.
Yep. Awesome, thank you. And then we're gonna hop over to our I think I'm starting to feel like the vibe of this group is like Scooby-Doo. So, so we are now. You're Scooby, a really angry Scooby.
I was thinking Scrappy.
Oh, Scrappy Doo.
Oh, no, let's not bring Scrappy into this.
He doesn't exist in this world. It's fine.
Which is weird because like Shaggy's body type is actually like the first image I had in my head for Cyraxes, especially like the long arms like held slightly backwards.
That walk.
Yeah. It's
But
pretty
yes.
Cyraxes. So hello, I am Shakespeare, and you can find me on Twitter at Shakespeare and at Instagram if you feel like looking at pictures. This is my only stream for the week at the moment, so you can find me here every Thursday. And my favorite bit, oh, it's tough. There's so many amazing moments, and the ones Meg picked were definitely like in my top two. But I have to say, I really love Cosima just being like, I'm talking like Cyraxes now. This is what it's come to. A stream of consciousness and kind of being like, oh, that's what he's doing. Okay. I really like her just kind of going Zyraxes, and kind of just accepting this. I'm gonna drink and talk and see what happens. But also just like, this was really like emotional for me, because Zyraxes is so like fixed on their faith, and that moment of just like trying to reach out, because it's not something they do, they just live and that's their devotion. So trying to reach out and hearing nothing, there's like, if they could break any more than they're already broken, that's a moment right there. It was so good. It was so good.
What was that, Raxes?
I know. I was like, I could use the reroll, but it's just too good.
I was gonna say, sometimes you don't need the reroll, even if it's bad. It tells the story in such a different way. So, but yeah, we're now gonna hop over to our first badass mom, which is Cosima, who literally ripped a door off the hinges and charged at people with. So.
I think I'll do my plugs at the end. But I really enjoyed the parallels between this episode and the first episode, but also how far all the characters have kind of come at the same time and the journeys that they're all on in this moment. And I think for Cosima, this was a hard day because there were so many parallels in this too to other parts of her life, to someone being taken from her, to the death of her father, and just it's eating at her. But at the same time, she sees so much power in the people around her that it's giving her a faith, and it's just frustrating her that she can't push us forwards. She's used to literally, being that bull force who can just push through problems, and this isn't a problem she can push through because her mind just can't put together these things, and it's not something you can physically just smash until it gives you. I mean, we have something she could physically smash until it gives answers, but she isn't really like a torturer or a brute. It's just that moment flicked a switch in her head, and she just, and that first Muse, she genuinely thought this was going to be like a phantom, so I'll nail it with a knife and it's not a person, I'm not murdering someone, it's just another one of these shades or whatever. And so I think as she's processing that it's going to be similar to the Marcus thing of, oh, I just killed someone, I just took something from someone and it felt necessary, but is that still a good thing? And I've been doing this thing this week where I've been writing notes in my planner, not only about the game, but I've also been writing them as my characters. And so for Cosima this week, I wrote, I have left my land, my home, my children. I seek my heart, my promise. I will take back what was taken from me. Though now I am blown off course on strange tides, I still seek, and I do not surrender. And so that is what she is holding on to, going on. So yeah, I love this group. I've loved all the moments. I love Hestia. She's just got so many little secrets and tricks. Cool. I'm at Frost from Fire on the Twitters. I play in a lot of games all week. The next stream game is going to be on Sunday, and it's a game idea I'm using Cypher system over on WebDM. It's the Lost Girls, 80s vampires. It's got an amazing all-female cast, and we just have a blast every week, so I hope you can come hang out and check that out. But Sunday is also full of other wonderful RPG scheduling. Also here, Tales from the Grim has some incredible shows, including Highlander starts this week with Alice. Go and check that out. It's on pretty much the same time as The Lost Girls, but I will forgive you if you go and watch that instead, because it's going to be awesome. Another amazing cast. So that's me.
Awesome, thank you. And last but certainly not least, Amber, who is Hestia.
Oh goodness, I am blown away by Merritt being Hermes, which I think it's so cool that she has this bond with someone like that. But another point that I really liked about the game today was just Hestia getting back to her roots of being a healer rather than someone who causes damage. But that's in her past. But you can find me on Twitter at furor_DND. This is my only stream that I appear on. Otherwise, I'm a dungeon master for a couple campaigns, and I post stuff about that. But that is me.
Awesome. Thank you. I think one of my favorite bits is one, finally being able to reveal who Merritt is. And also now probably going to throw you into question is he was dropped off by someone. He didn't arrive on his own. So I like learning about all these characters. I feel bad, but also pleased that Cosima and Marcus have killed their first person. Like, properly.
Yeah.
This is probably quite a big thing for them. And that Hestia got to use her healing again, which is very sad she's not done for a while. And Zyraxes, just the image of Zyraxes being so pissed off and cantering towards Hestia. And one of my favorite bits, I think that your instant things were, I'm Arthur and Martin. Last names that sprang to you. So, yeah. But anyway, I'm White Rabbit Pick, and that's where you can find me on Twitter. And yeah, I do lots of photography stuff over there, which you can go check out. I DM for this channel with 3 campaigns. I play in a load of campaigns here, and I'm also in 2 campaigns over on Tales of the Grim. I play in a Lady Blackbird campaign as my sweet little goblin boy, and Highlander that launches this weekend, which I'm very excited about because it's Highlander and we were allowed to choose from whatever era we wanted, and I figured being British I went for Celt, so I am going to have been from a particular era. My history degree is actually paying off, guys. So other than that, we are going to go and raid Tales from the Grim. We're going to go say hi to Greg. And our raid cry is Martin the Murderer. We are going to head over there. But other than that, guys, he's a man now. Please go check out our Discord. It's full of some really awesome people like the ones you see here today. And there is also a section purely for this campaign where you can go scream into the void if you so wish. If you want to get into one of our games, please drop Scrack DM on Twitter. We have 5 viewer games this season, including this system. So there is a Cypher system viewer game available if you want to give it a go. And this episode will be up on YouTube in the next couple of days. And if you've missed anything, any of the 4 episodes, definitely go check those out. We have a Patreon, which is one way to support us, where you can also find some free articles on there from our lovely Renee. And also merch, as Scrat says, put that crest on your chest. So yeah, no, you think that's bad, Charlie? He's trying to get one to rhyme with the leggings. That's something on the inner thigh. Like,
put that loot on your boot.
Yeah, like there we go. But yes,
you don't think I haven't been thinking about that since you first said it at the top of the stream? You are wrong. Going over every single rhyme I can think
he's
of for
gonna
booty.
use that now. But yes, we also have some awesome sponsors in the form of Bird in the Storm, which is Tool School, and Bird vs. Plane, which we have something very excited coming next season with that, and also Mage Hand Press, D&D, 5e, in space, all the sci-fi for all your sci-fi needs, so go and check them out as well. So we are gonna go and raid Greg. Greg runs an awesome channel with some awesome people like Lauren, Jonathan, like you name it, they're over there. And it's good. So head over there, send the love, shout that Martin is a murderer, or Martin the murderer, I should say. And I feel this is a key turning point. But other than that, keep evoking emotions, and we will see you in a bit where for our completely legitimate business where Laugh Love Lindy takes us through Dark Matter. So I'll see you all later. Bye.